Hey guys, I'm back from my brief stint of being electrocuted. That wasn't fun. And apparently you've got some questions for me, so let's hope I have some answers. Let's jump right in, let's do this thing. Dominic Miller asks, will Adric and the real Paul Mcgann become major characters in It's Never Omega? Real Paul Mcgann might do some more crossovers, like the Story Cubes video, because they're definitely in the same universe. There isn't an Adric action figure, so we can't, really, unfortunately, unless we got one of a beautiful custom. There are some beautiful customs out there. My boy B. Brookes asks, if the Amazing Doctor were going to snog his companion, Time Agent Lee, Proper Bonkers, Jesus, etc., what music would play in the background? It would have to be something really emotional, really sad. Probably some Coldplay would be appropriate, Yellow by Coldplay. They're slow dancing. He's like, no, maybe we shouldn't. Time Agent is like, yes, we should. And Jesus is like, this is a weird threesome, guys. And the Doctor's like, but we shouldn't. I'm the Doctor. And it's like, yes, but no, we should. Don't fight it. Don't fight it. And then they lean in for the kiss. Yeah, I'm going to say anything by Coldplay. Blair Harrison asks, when are you going to stop talking about Paul, lol?
Never!
Iron Sphere asks, who is your favourite 8th Doctor companion from the comics that also happens to be a Cyberman? Yeah, I like the way you think, Iron Sphere. Croton, my brother, yeah. Joel H. Jolson asks, favourite ghost/spirit? Probably the ghost of good comedy, after you murdered it by beating it into the ground. Okay, we have fun. Nick Payne asks, where did you get the idea for the Loving the 8th Doctor video? From Loving the 8th Doctor, basically. I think the best sort of springboard or generator of video ideas is, just being honest, basing it on things that you like, because that's, when you know what you're talking about, it's going to resonate with other people. Yeah, I sort of dramatized it and made it comedic, but at the same time, it's very truthful, and I think that's why people like it more than because it's funny. But it's that kind of thing, you're watching it, you're laughing at it, you're like, yeah, that's me. And the only way you can create that effect, that connection with a few people, is by basing it on true things that you know about. The original version was very, very dry. I sort of just wrote those bullet points out, and I actually filmed this version. I've got on my computer, probably some, I don't know if I deleted it, it's just me against a wall, much like now, just saying those steps, just being like, write fanfiction. It was very vloggy, and it was very dry. I thought I have to make this video because I really like the concept, but it just looks terrible. I sort of just threw everything into it production wise, and I maybe went a bit too far, but I just stylized the hell out of it because I knew I wanted to get this core video idea out there. It was just about how you present it. Ollie Everett asks, why is Omega so depressed about getting work when he's starring in K9 Timequake? When there's more information on Timequake, maybe, like it's definitely happening, maybe we'll build in a joke about it. I think for now it's probably best to leave it because there's a very real possibility that it might have been forgotten about by its makers. Matthew Quilliam asks, what are you hoping Chris Chibnall will bring to the show? So many things. Consistency is maybe the word. I hope he just makes it fun again. It's very heavy-handed. It takes itself very seriously. Stephen Moffat brags about his scripts making Mark Gatiss cry. I don't think a Doctor Who script should make people cry. I think it should make you smile. How many Paul Mcgann / 8th Doctor fanfictions have you written? Just the one, the classic, The Postman Rings 8 Times. There's more than the few lines that you see in Loving the 8th Doctor. Much Jolly Hayden asks, can you be my idol, Phoenix? I mean, I guess. I don't think you'd really want me as an idol. I make weird videos and eat pizza. This is too much responsibility. No. Tom Bowen asks, have you ever met Paul McGann? If you could write for Doctor Who, what story would you tell? I've not met Paul McGann. Sort of thankfully. I would not be cool under pressure. I'd not be cool in that situation. Probably just like have some kind of small psychological breakdown and stare at him and just not know what to say. So that would be a low point of my life. The only Doctor I've met is Colin Baker at the one Comic Con I've been to, and I got my Colin Baker autograph, and I was very uncool with that. And you know, I sort of amplify that by 10 if it would have been Paul McGann. And I'm not sure what I'd say to Paul McGann. It wouldn't be pleasant to watch or be part of. So thankfully for me and Paul, I have not met Paul McGann. If I could write a Doctor Who story, I think a lot of fans have their pet Doctor Who story that they've sort of been in their heads, and every so now and then they chip away at it and they adjust some things. But yeah, that's why I wouldn't tell it to you, because it's my baby, and it might one day be born. As David asks, will we ever see an Aimless Wanderings fan film amazing crossover? Probably not. I think they're a bit different in what they set out to do in the core of their joke. Aimless Wanderings probably takes itself a bit more seriously. That's a weird thing to say. It's sort of, you know, if Doctor Who was done consistently by Douglas Adams as the sort of Aimless Wanderings idea, whereas the fan film Amazing crossover is just... No, sorry, the fan film Amazing idea is just it's a terrible fan film. Amazing kind of has the meta joke in that what you're watching isn't the Doctor, it's someone who thinks they're amazing at playing the Doctor. So it'd be a bit hard to mesh those two styles. But, you know, never say never, maybe. What is your opinion on the War Doctor? I don't like the War Doctor. No offence against John Hurt. I think John Hurt is brilliant gentleman, good actor. He's depriving a story from Paul, the 8th Doctor. It should have been his story. That should have been his moment, that special. But instead they made up a new Doctor. What? Second, it really didn't live up to... The War Doctor is an interesting notion in that it's, you know, it's essentially what every fan filmmaker dreams of, the Dark Doctor. But they didn't use that at all. I mean, it was just a kindly old John Hurt. He's probably one of the nicer Doctors that we've seen. I think he didn't do anything particularly dark. Just very, very kind old man. That there wasn't any point to him existing, you know, that they weren't trying to make a special point with him being a War Doctor, which is why it really feels like he could have just been Paul McGann. Cameron Ain't Jolly says, Phoenix Sensei, will you teach us your ways? Yes. Just lay in bed and eat pizza. Time Lord Life asks, how are the shoes? I'm not wearing shoes. Barefoot. Fool, why are you a FiveWho fan instead of proper bonkers? That's Jacob C. Rose. Because he smells. And I don't. What would you do if you met Adric? Corpse Adric or alive Adric? I don't know. What I would do depends on whether he's alive or dead. So you should have been more specific with your question. Ryan Wasson asks, what's your favourite part about making your amazing fan films? Making them, basically, is so much fun. I really was much more into fan films. If there was a fan film from the sort of early 2000s, I've 100% watched it. I think that was one of the first things I used the internet for. Because when I discovered Doctor Who, I, typed in Doctor Who, and when was watching them on Google videos, I think the first ones I watched were the Projection Room fan films and Billy Tracy's seminal work, Doctor Pooh. I think that in part, fan films are what taught me that you could be a filmmaker. I always wanted to make films, but it always seemed a sort of impossible dream to save until I was old and rich. But I think Batman fan films I discovered first, and Star Wars fan films made me realise that you could make films. And then Doctor Who was just such an accessible world, because it really doesn't call for much budget, that I realised I could do this. I didn't end up doing this, but I could do this. I was watching them all, and then on YouTube, I got onto YouTube and I was watching them. So I very much know that area. And like I was saying with loving the Eighth Doctor, when you know it, you can really get into it and make something special for other people that get into it as well. I know what tropes there are. There are jokes that I've been saving up for ages. I use a joke in too many Doctor Who's where so many fan films have when the Doctor is monologuing, the actor holds the camera and like spins around with it as they're monologuing. And I've always thought, what does that look like from other characters' perspective? The Doctor's just stood in the spot spinning. You know, there's so much like pent up, spiteful affection for fan films that I have that make it really fun to make. My absolute favourite part is working with people. Riffing with people is probably the best, and the weird Skype calls that result in scripts, with Jacob C. Rose on most of them, and then with Billy on First Easter, and I'm working on the next one with Ronan Garan, and just having really weird Skype calls and then dramatising those Skype calls is probably the best part. Ed asks, for real, who is the real Paul McGann? The real Paul McGann? That's a silly question. Luke Foster asks, what is your favourite biscuit? Probably Limp. Top 10 Nardal moments. Has he even had 10 moments? I'm not answering that. Jericho Buckle says, how are you? Oh, thanks Jericho. I'm good, thank you. How are you? Answer in the comments below. Bottle O Podcast asks, Dan or Billy? Marry Bang. Tom Monty asks, how exactly did you film the car crash scene in How to Listen to Big Finish? It's green screen. I got a parent to hold my green screen up outside the window of the car, and then I pretended to drive the car, and the rest is just After Effectsing in some footage of road passing by, stock footage of glass. I did actually, you can probably see, for the car crash, I just sort of lurched myself in my seat, but when I went down, I took the camera with me, which was kind of a dumb thing to do because I was basically throwing myself at the camera and it could have broke. But that's where that camera movement comes from, is as I fly this way, I sort of grab the camera and move it with me. JG says, best 8th Doctor costume, explain in Mcgann voice, please. Well, you know, I think the Night of the Doctor outfit is probably the best one, because it combines the sort of rugged sailor look that Mcgann was really wanted and incorporated into his Dark Eyes costume, but it also has the flair and the adventurous gothic sense that the original costume had that we really all loved so much. So I think it has the best of both worlds in it, if you take my meaning. The others feel too much in one direction, and they don't really have both elements of the character in there. Crystal D, yes, Crystal D, asks, top tips for doing an impression of Paul McGann. My impression is very inaccurate, but it's sort of it's a very strange rhythm. He speeds up and slows down and goes up and down, you know, in whispering and shouting. It's an odd sort of seesaw of vocal range. It's like, we've got to go up the stairs and then walk through the door. It's vitally important we do this with as much speed as we can possibly manage. It weirdly helps to like sort of rest my head like this, like on the desk, just because there's something about Paul McGann that he sometimes, the 8th Doctor, sounds like he's just woken up from a nap and he's like, oh, what's, yes, So I think part of this, it's not an impression, it's like, you know, a caricature of the Eighth Doctor. Paul Mcgann actually doesn't speak like the Eighth Doctor does. Caricature of the Eighth Doctor is really what I do, so you sort of lay your head and you just like speed up and slow down your sense. It's like, yes, we've got to go over there as quickly as humanly possible. Yeah. Bottlo Podcast asks, pretzels or cake? Please pick pretzels. Sorry, Bottlo. I hate pretzels cake. Dan Lloyd asks, is this the darkest timeline? And if so, what can we do about it? I think everyone should remember that we're all, you know, humans. Stay compassionate. Everyone deserves a bit of love. And look out for each other. Rain asks, what's a song that makes you happy? And if you could be any classic Doctor Who monster / alien for a day of fun shenanigans, what would you pick? There's a really catchy song that I like to listen to feel happy, which is High Society by Betty Who, no relation. It's very like poppy, upbeat, silly song, but it's really fun, and it's one of the few songs that, you know, makes me feel a bit like dancing that comes on. I should never do that though. I should never dance. That's dangerous. If I could pick a classic Doctor Who monster, it's difficult because it looks very uncomfortable to be most of the classic monsters. I mean, they have difficulty getting around, they have difficulty walking, they have difficulty it looks just very difficult. I guess maybe the Axos? It'd be fun to be all golden, to be able to change matter. No, they all look very uncomfortable to be. I would not have a fun time being most of these creatures. Erato. Josh Ching asks, what would be your advice to someone starting Big Finish? Pick your favourite Doctor. I think definitely. The way in which Big Finish can be a real joy is that it gives you more of your favourite Doctor. I think some people put Big Finish on a pedestal a bit. Oh, it's better than the TV. It's sort of equal to the TV, you know, they're just as hit and miss. There are good ones, there are bad ones. What can be a delight about it is if you love Sylvester McCoy, here's more of the Sylvester McCoy Doctor. They do them in sort of loose trilogies now that you can see on the website, so just start at the beginning of a little trilogy with your favourite Doctor, I would say. Billy Howe asks, will you be celebrating Voldemort Day? Maybe next. We've missed it. I missed it this year actually. I forgot to do anything in time for it, but maybe next. Next November 9th, I'll get something together in time. Maybe do a special video or something. If the Doctor's regeneration light wasn't yellow since 2005, what colour would you want it to be, and why? How about no colour? How about something different? I'd like maybe something more stylised and surreal, like the Caves Ranjazani one. I always thought it'd be cool to do regeneration inside the Doctor's mind. Don't know if you've listened to Zagreus, but they do a scene where the Doctor dies, essentially, and then it cuts inside his own head, and he's speaking with doctors who've died. I thought it'd be cool to do a sort of version of that where you show the current Doctor dying, and then you would cut into his mind, and the sort of new Doctor would come in, like over a hill or something, and there'd be an actual scene of the two, and there'd be a literal like passing of the baton. So the old Doctor would be like, oh, so you're the new one, and he'd be like, yes, I come to take over, and then maybe they like shake hands, and then it cuts back out, and it's the new Doctor. I always thought that would be cool. I guess maybe it's a bit fan servicey, but you know, I'm a fan, so of course my ideas are going to be fan servicey. Billy Tracy asks, favourite video you've made so far? Probably is Adric cool? Just because it's sort of really weird, but it also really makes sense. Like, it ties together well, and the visuals are so really like worked out on that one, especially, you know, on the hill. The hill is one of the best places I filmed it. That looked so good when we're sitting on the hill looking out, and it's sort of just my sense of humour where there's you feel like there's pathos, but you're very confused as to what the pathos is, and it doesn't quite feel like there should be pathos, and it's very strange, but there is a through line story. I think everything really came together. Also had a very interesting development. It was very fun to develop that idea. Just the making of it was fun. It started off just as a thumbnail. The thumbnail was the first thing I made for that, because it was right at the start of beginning to work on FiveWhoFans videos, and I got the thumbnail template, and I was so excited to have my official pink template. I've got to make a thumbnail on here. I didn't have videos yet, but I gotta make a thumbnail. So for some reason I made Is Adric Cool as a video thumbnail, and then it was sort of I have to make this. The Danny Pink ad I'm very proud of. I think that's one of the best things I've ever made. I'm surprised more people haven't done ad jokes, like YouTube ad jokes. Probably people have, but I've never seen one. I don't know why. It's a great idea. Probably cheating a bit, because it's not technically my video. It's yours, Billy. This was your question. But the 8th Doctor versus the War Doctor, very good to work on. Very good to work on with you and Livy on that. It was really fun to film. Came together really well. I ended up editing it due to circumstances, and probably editing it was the best part. Putting together the John Hurt flashback was great, and seeing that come together. So it's probably my favourite video that I've been involved in, but of course that's not my video, so that's going off question. Alright, so I've saved certainly the longest for last. Thomas Banks asks, opinions on the Virgin New Adventures and the direction in which they took Doctor Who. Also, what would you prefer? The Doctor to be half human, or for the Doctor to be a loomed, fully Gallifreyan? Which is your favourite depiction of Time Lords? Omnipotent godlike beings from the War Games, stuffy decrepit bureaucrats from the Deadly Assassin, scheming ritualistic and archaic traditionalists from the VNAs, or however they're portrayed in New Who? I've not actually read any of the Virgin New Adventures, mainly because I wouldn't know how to get my hands on them. If anyone wants to send me some PDFs or individual JPEGs of the pages, please contact me and make that happen. Because of that, I don't really know what the looms are, to be honest. Everyone chit chats about the looms. It's this kind of constant joke. I have no idea, and I join in, but I have no idea what the looms are. Being half human is actually an interesting idea. I guess not interesting. It explains a lot. I think certainly it answers two questions, which is, why is the Doctor different to other Time Lords? Why has he got this rebellious streak and this need to interfere? And two, why he is so obsessed with Earth and keeps going there. And it really explains those two things, which is, I think why it was included in the screenplay. I think it was an effort to explain those two character traits. But then, do character traits need explaining? I'd rather Doctor Who's past be more of a mystery and the focus be on the adventure. And also because if you don't say, then the fans can choose, and each person can have in their head their own idea, and they can own it a little bit. How do I like the Time Lords? Again, not having read the VNAs, that sounds quite good, the way you describe it there, Thomas. I do prefer a more negative portrayal. Probably the War Games. Things I've heard from the Virgin New Adventures have sounded interesting. Something I really like about Doctor Who is, more than any other franchise, it has room for those different levels, doing something, a family-friendly adventure, or a darker adventure, a bright, zany adventure. But that's one of the great things about Doctor Who, is it can support so many tones. So I'd like to read some just crazy dark Doctor Who. And that sounds fun. So yeah, you know, send me those JPEGs, Thomas Banks. Oh wait, I've done all the questions. That's it. I hope my answers were adequate. Thank you to everyone who sent in a question. It was a lot of fun to answer those. Okay, bye.